Andy Serling, and Sarah El Badwi. Good luck.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Sarah El Badwi, filling in for Anthony Stabile, joining me. Actually, everybody's doing two shows this weekend. I'm out on Sunday. You'll be on with Anthony on Sunday. Anthony will be back tomorrow as well as we kick off another week of action. A little quieter after Gotham Week. A lot of good action out of town, which we've been talking about. The races down at Tampa Bay, as well as a fun race at Oaklawn. All those will be part of the cross-country Pick 5, 3 stakes at Tampa. The Azari, if you haven't looked at the Azari at Oaklawn, it's a fun race. And our correction here. We'll get to work. Got 8 races. Head over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, listen to Jose. You know, we put this up, Sarah, and Jose immediately won the Gotham. I don't want to say it's absolutely the reason, but it could be related.
It must be the only reason why.
I don't think it's the only reason, but I think that it's somewhat related.
Horse, so.
No, it's nothing to do with that, but that's why I picked it. I like to start picking the people in our.
The
well, that would have been a problem because it was American Revolution for a long time, and he hasn't done a lot of racing.
Can't pick him anymore.
You know, he was a disappointing horse last year because he really looked like a horse in the cusp of a big year, and he only ran 3 times, I think.
Yeah, no
2 races at Churchill, and he ran fine.
He's okay.
But I thought his second, the Gold Cup, was good. I mean, Olympia kind of had the run of the race. Unfortunately, he's obviously got a bunch of issues. They've kept running more. We don't know who that Klarovich runner is, but it is a Klarovich runner. 20% exacta bonus. I just opted in. Go over and opt in for that. Fridays at the Big A. So I want to mention we do have the contest again this weekend. We got a little issue with our graphic, but you have until 5 o'clock today, the $300 betting challenge. It's not a, it's not as big a one as we had for Gotham, but it's still a fun contest to play through NYRA Bets. And we have a show, 3 to 6, covering Aqueduct and Oaklawn as well. There's Greg, Maggie, and I, and Paul is at Oaklawn. All right, race number 1. We're going to show a video that isn't really particularly meaningful, but we'll show it anyway, as we like to do. And I tell you what, Sarah, I'm not trying to beat systemic change. I honestly really looked hard and looked at a lot of different horses in here, and I'm not this horse's biggest fan, but he's the controlling speed on paper. And at least he did some running last time. I just don't see anybody in this race that I particularly want. I don't want to cop out at a heavy favorite, but I did.
He's supposed to win, isn't he? I mean, he's been short prices in 2 of his past races.
Well, wait.
Although the entry,
he was an entry bait. He was
although
in short.
The entry,
right, even 2 back, they were betting on that horse that turns out he can't run at all anymore, that ran well in his first start and ran horribly the other day. And last time they were clearly betting Reserve Currency, who's going to take money in a tough allowance tomorrow.
Right, and I mean, now he's by himself, supposed to be the one to be beating his stablemate that is uncoupled. I have no serious problems with this favorite. I did take 1 shot against it with a horse that, I mean, has been facing fairly decent company last time out. The class test was a question, even though he was in for a tag first time out. I don't think that he totally disgraced himself with that 4th place finish, Slip Mahoney and Krupe. The rail was good that day. He was always wide. 1
wasn't
shot again.
that wide.
I know,
that's a little. That's. I agree with you, but he was only too wide for the majority of the turn, and I think that those chart comments can be a little bit deceptive, and I think it's important to watch. But he wasn't on the rail, to be fair.
Right. No, I watched him. Well, it's not like he was so badly disadvantaged that I'm making this whole big argument for this horse.
No, that's fair.
But I think that it's, if you want to take a shot against, you got to find a little bit of an argument for somebody, though I'm not super against this one.
I originally was more interested in this horse. I don't know. I have some reservations about the big figure in the Slip Mahoney race, and I know Slip Mahoney was coming off that excellent effort behind Tapit Trice, where you could make an argument he ran the better race.
Sure.
He didn't run particularly well in the Gotham. I know he didn't break that well, but that's the race that he ran. He ran okay. He certainly didn't back up the big fig he got here. He also rode the rail. Krupe didn't back it up, and don't forget, he rode the rail from the very race, and he was not good. Maiden and the Risen Star or not, that race, if you had told Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher this is the manner that the Risen Star is going to be run, a fast pace, going to collapse, they'd have been excited.
He should have picked up a piece.
He just didn't. I mean, he's just, at the end of the day, he's probably a little better closing around one turn, Krupe. It's probably more better to him. He's not obviously not good enough to be a Triple Crown horse. He's been a frustrating horse.
Sure.
The first race was my problem with this horse, and I really thought about him. His first race was awful, and I think that's a fig that's a little on the questionable side. So we'll see. Listen, I mean, you've got Court and Charlemagne, who's got to make up 4 lengths on Systemic Change. Could happen, but why? You've got the 4, who was never that good. The Chad Brown went to Parks, where he always seemed to win, and he was terrible at a short price. I mean, David Aragona likes the 5, and, you know, we both respect David. Horses will win that David likes it. I don't get it all, but
sure.
I don't get this horse. And I guess Rapper Zapper's the other horse in here, but hasn't he had enough chances against Lesser out of town?
He has, and it worries me that this trainer has only brought 2 horses to Aqueduct over the past 5 years without success. So while some of his races could make him a player, and maybe if he's more aggressively ridden from the outside, I wanted to make a case for this one, but I just really couldn't get there with him. So I think if you're trying to take a shot against the favorite, you had to get a little bit creative, and we both have this one as the most likely winner.
Yeah, I mean, Rapper Zapper, he's also lost at 8-5, 6-5, and 6-5 in his last 3 starts. So he's losing races he's supposed to win out of town. Doesn't mean he can't win here, but it doesn't mean I'm going to bet him. Race number 2, it's a very funny group of first-time starters in this race. And I guess 8 and Sand is going to be a heavy favorite, mostly because of this race. The problem that I have at the end of the day is this race somewhat sticks out like a sore thumb. The race before it was pretty good from a figure standpoint. There was a medication violation, which is why this horse is no longer maiden. Came back. I thought Central Pride ran much better than he did last time. He was down the deeper part of the racetrack, more inside than he was, and he beat him. And before people say, well, I mean, he's 0 for 12, Central Pride. Well, he's 0 for 8 in the dirt. 8 and Sand is 0 for 6. You want to say, well, he's 1 for 6. He had a medication violation, was disqualified here. And then he came back and didn't run that well. He may win. I just took Central Pride. I thought he was a better horse. You're going to go in a different direction with a firster. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, not a strong case here, but I'm kind of tired of these horses that have had these multiple chances. And I think if you're trying to beat both of these short price favorites, you want to do it with somebody that you haven't seen yet. I kind of went to this one just because this one was one of 4 of the first time starters, but he did sell for an okay price, more than the stud fee at the Saratoga yearling sale in 2021 on the dam side. All the foals have won, most of them winning second time out. However, so maybe this is one that you want to include underneath somewhere at a little bit more of a price. I don't have a huge strong opinion in here. 8 and Sand and Central Pride make a lot of sense, and I'm not overly against these 2, but you just get kind of tired of seeing horses not get the job done at shorter prices over and over again.
I get that. I'm not going to guess with first-time starters. I mean, the only first-time star I took a look at was I Can See That, who's not that much pedigree, and it's a war dancer, but it is Bruce Levine at least to go with the first turn. I know people look and say, well, it's Mike Luzzi. Maybe he's giving Mike a chance to win a race on a horse. We'll see. Run Pressure basically has more of a turf pedigree for my money. We'll see what happens here. I'm not going against the 2 that started. I just simply haven't seen anything about the firsters that interests me particularly. Race number 3 is a bit of a problem, and I had picked Letty. So it's never great when you find a race that's difficult and they end up scratching the horse you like. The horse you have on top, I can't figure out if he's the right bet or he's a massive trap, because what happened to him last time?
That is a great question, and I don't have an answer. For me, this was kind of the distance being the great equalizer for some of these horses that haven't been able to go this 1 1/8 yet. Although it's not as though they couldn't possibly do so. I thought that there would be some speed in here. Letty coming out decreases that a little bit, but you do have the 3. There's a Storm of Bruin and the 4 Optic Way, who are likely to both go. Thought that this one might just sit a stalking trip, and at least he's been able to get the distance before, like he did 3 back, but the last 2 races are a little bit concerning, you're right.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to have a favor. It's funny, he's run okay to 1 1/8. I always thought he was a better horse in the 1-turn mile races when he get a bigger pace to run at. You know, I think a lot of people look at Caribbean because he's coming off the win, will show his win. I don't like Caribbean at all in here. I think this race that we're going to look at right now, if we can get that up, was absolutely a result of a pace that kind of fell apart in the late stages. I know Airshow was the speed, and he ended up running second. Caribbean just sort of showed up last time, and there's a real amount of randomness to him. I bet him the time before. He got a big figure. That's a figure where horses have run okay out of the race, but they're mostly running about 10 points lower. So I question how good that race was. I'd actually bet him 2 back. I thought he kind of caught lightning in a bottle in this race. I also question if he's as efficient in the mile and eighth races. I don't like him against what I think is probably a tougher group. And we'll also go to the video of Optic Way running second last time out. And man, he's claimed, and I know Amira Shishakli has been working miracles lately. I mean, a trainer who was not winning at a very high percentage, to be kind, has had a lot of horses. Now, some of them are with a different operation that's moving horses up for sure. Maybe she'll move this horse up, but she's only had this horse for 6 days. And you look at the last race where he had everything his own way, and okay, Advanced Strategy, who beat him in here, if we can bring it up, he was a horse that was dropping down, but why is he supposed to win here with another speed in the race? We can scrap that video, guys, at this point, so no reason to show it now. Thanks.
And it's not as though Amir Shishakli and Randy Persaud, the 2 horses that are coming out of that race just the other day, have a decent amount of success with a very quick turnaround. So I wasn't totally sold on either Optic Way or Ceres.
You know, if she's running Optic Way back on Rudy's training, and I don't mean that as a knock on her. I think a lot of trainers do that, and it's a smart thing to do. Well, yeah, I ran a good enough fig. You really love this horse in a mile and an eighth, and I think if you want a speed in here, I think you want there's a Stormer Bruin who's faster than these, and unlike the last race, he can get the lead, and you have to think that Torres is going to be more aggressive and put him on the lead. I don't really like him. I think his mile and eighth wins are phony, but he has won in a mile and an eighth, and if somebody's going to bottom this field out, I would rather take him at a much bigger price than take Optic Way off the last race.
That was my thinking as well. If I was going to go with a horse that was going to be forwardly placed in here, I want the one that's a bigger price that has at least been able to go the distance before, even if it hasn't been the absolute best fields that he's been facing.
And Karis, I mean, listen, with Randy Persaud, I think you want to take his horses when their prices and they don't make much sense. He ran 5 last time, but what was he really doing? He was just sucking up at the end and picking up some pieces when there was nobody else doing much running. He won't shock me in here. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's anybody here that can't win. I think there's an argument to be made for pretty much really everybody in here. As far as Pit Boss, who I have zero confidence in, I think a lot of people are going to see Juan Bernardini and think, well, who the heck is this guy? I've never heard of him. I don't want to bet him. Well, okay, I don't know. Maybe he'll turn out to be a terrible trainer, but maybe he'll turn out to be a good trainer. He was an assistant to Scott Lake. If you don't think Scott Lake knows what he's doing, you haven't been paying attention for the last 20 plus years. And I mean, he's gone out on his own. He's had one other starter here. I think it was an the problem I have with this horse is an excellent cash horse. And horses claimed away from that guy have a habit of just falling off cliffs. And he certainly didn't run well at a short price last time for Rob Atras. Having said that, I'm going to give him a shot. He doesn't need the lead. He can rate a little bit. He's not going to take much money, and he has races that are good enough to give him a chance. I don't love him. I just went a different direction, and all of it happened because the one was scratched, and I'm not going to change all my picks. But it's a very, very strange race. Race number 4 kicks off the late pick 5 of our 8-race card. And at the end of the day, we'll show him proper. I think this is 2 back when he runs third, assuming we can get the video. He's probably going to win this race. I just don't want to pick him.
Same exact thoughts as you. I mean, he's dropping in for a tag for the first time. He hasn't really panned out from that purchase price, and he's been facing special weight company. He has the best figures of this group repeatedly over and over again. I mean, he's supposed to win this race. It's just not like me to take a 6-5 horse that has had their fair share of chances, although no serious problems with this one.
Well, there's the options in here are fairly limited, to say the least. Where did you go in here?
I went to the 7 just because I feel as though he's a relative unknown on this surface. I mean, he ran twice on the turf as a 2-year-old versus Maiden Special Weight Company. Distorted Humor is a better dirt sire than turf sire. He's 18% with his dirt sprinters as opposed to the 12% with turf sprinters. The dam was unraised. If you go really far back on the dam side pedigree, you end up getting to Catch the Ring, who was a 7-time winner, almost of a million.
On the turf?
No, she won on grade 3 on the dirt, actually.
But was she a Canadian horse?
She was. She won at Woodbine. I had to go way, way back, but there's some dirt if you go
if you go way back in every pedigree, you're going to find some good horses somewhere. It's not exactly
you can make an argument if you go far back enough.
Not a very good science to go way, way back in pedigrees. And, Jamie Begg, who worked for Mark Casse, and there has been history with Mark Cassie's barn of running turf horses and dirt races and winning. I just think this horse, the problem of this horse has been 65 and almost 40 to 1 in his 2 races and has done absolutely no running, but I
Maybe
get
he
it.
can't run at
I
all,
put the
but-
horse fourth. I mean, More Than Luck has that race 2 races back, which will show if we have it, where he finished just behind Register, and Register's come back with 2 big races from there, and then he got himself into a very, very tough field last time. So I can see an argument for him. The problem I have is this race kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, and I'm starting to wonder if the wet track played a real role in it.
Right, and I think today's kind of the day to find out, because if you want an alternative to Improper that makes sense on
It's
paper,
him.
it's this one, of course.
In theory.
Well, on paper, yes, but it's as though he kind of has the first really good race, and then I'm not so sure about what's happened since, even though he has been facing tougher company. In that race last time, that winner came back and won again. So it's between the 1 and 8 logically, and I think that we just both kind of wanted somebody else on top.
Well, I actually really like Cloud Music. I'm scared of Improper, but I like Cloud Music. I've been waiting for him to run back since his debut, because I thought he ran very well in his debut. They're asking him to go 6 against, this horse was 80 to 1 against Toxic Ray, Ever So Mischievous. This was a very contentious pace. Those are pretty good horses. And he didn't really fold his tent until around the 8th pole. This horse ran hard for a long time, and now he's just in the right spot. I honestly feel like if he had run in this race a first-time starter, he might have won.
That's a fair
And
point.
now he's got a race under his belt. I think Cloud Music is a very, very interesting horse. I've been waiting for him. He was entered and scratched. He was coming back on very short rest. I don't know if it was a wet track, but I know it was very short rest. So maybe they just wanted to give him a little bit more time. Well, they have now. He's had a month since that race, and I thought he was a very interesting horse. I have no illusions. Improper's a horse to beat, but I had to bet him. I have been waiting to bet him here. We'll see what happens. Sarah and I will take a quick break. Talking Horses. We'll be back in just a moment.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
And
You seem less.
We're back, Sarah and I, for the second half of Talking Horses. And the 5th race, I thought it was a bit of an interesting race. Having said that, I picked the horse that's the 5-2 morning line. That's Jester's Song. We'll show his win 3 back. The Bonds have decent enough numbers with their first time for a tag. I think they're just being realistic. They tried this horse. Look at who this horse ran against in these races off of his maiden win. Where's he going? He's not winning a non-winners of 1 race. This is where he should be running. Saw them win a couple races last week. I don't totally trust him. You never love a drop down, and I don't think he's going to be a particularly good price. I just think Jester's Song may be better than these horses. I'm not trying to beat him.
That's a fair point. He certainly is in a more logical spot now. I don't love that he's had a couple of little stutter steps out of the gate for his last 2 when he kind of hadn't had that issue previously. But I think they're just being realistic about where he belongs, and he makes plenty of sense in here. I took 1 shot against this one with a horse that is more of a turf horse and has run certainly better on that surface. But last time out, there was a spot up the rail for this horse, if you watch that replay where he was 3rd last time. And I think the plan was always to switch out at the top of the stretch, even though that rail was still open for him, because he switched off of 3 horses in front of him to go all the way to the far outside. And I think that cost him some forward momentum, whereas the winner, Bejewel, was able to have that sustained forward run, did come back to win after that race as well. I don't know that he's good enough. I don't know that he's able to really get a grasp on the dirt and transfer that form that he had shown on the turf before. But I thought he was worth another shot at a price when I saw that he did a little bit of running last time off of a break.
I think it's funny that Mark is, I don't like him, but I wish you the best of luck. I think it's funny that Mark's moving him up to a 40 claimer, and I wonder maybe, some may just be the spot came up, but I wonder sometimes, now we are 4 weeks from today, from yesterday is the next, for 27 days.
Turf race,
Or,
right?
or 27 days from the first turf race in the book.
Why not wait?
I mean, well, if somebody wants to claim for 40,000, I'm not really sure what he's worth. But he is a New York bred non-winners of one that has some ability on the grass. And so in not running for a quarter, he's almost dissuading people from maybe claiming him, thinking turf season's coming. He is a 5-year-old gelding. I don't know what they're going to make with him. Listen, this is an outfit. Mark Hennig has done very well for the Windy Lee Farm horses, so he's a big price, so I wish you luck. I thought Necromancer was a very interesting horse here, and I'm not sure he's going to be as low as 5-1 off his last race. I thought he'd be a slightly better price. He's been running against some better horses, and if you look at his maiden win was a good enough figure to win this. His race 2 back, those are better horses. I think it puts him in the mix in the running of this race. His last race was obviously a bit of a disaster. He didn't run particularly well. You know, Ranked to the Wind came back and won. He was opportunistic, and he was only 60. He moved 6 points. Second place finisher ran the same figure in winning. The 5th place finisher ran 6 points better. So at the very least, it was a decent enough race. I thought he was interesting because I had a lot of trouble making a lot of cases. I mean, can Buckingham Prince run better second time off a layoff?
Sure.
Maybe he can. Upper level, I don't know about upper level. What do you do? What do you do with his last race?
No idea. I mean, he's supposed to be forwardly placed from the outside, but there is some other speed in here. I mean, he's not going to get this super easy lead all on his own, at least not on paper.
No, but he could be getting a good stalking trip.
He could.
I mean, I don't think it's impossible. My problem is, what happened to him last time? Better horses or not.
Right.
But he is dropping. And his
He
races
is.
2 and 3 back definitely make him a player in here.
And I feel as though it's fair. I mean, now he's third off the layoff. That's actually the number 6 Built to Last. But he is following those 3 allowance tries. His only win was on turf, so I don't love that. But, I mean, he's hit the board on dirt and ran respectably well. He may be in that chasing role again, which I don't know if he's going to be successful with that. But in theory, I mean, it should suit him.
Well, the pace is an interesting conversation in here because the 2 speeds outside of him are Mauritius and Built to Last, and they're both trained by Tom Morley. So I have a hard time seeing Manny and Trevor McCarthy riding these horses getting into some sort of Tour duel.
Correct.
I would guess that the one who's more likely is the inside one, Mortitius, and maybe they feel that Built to Last can rate, but I'm not really sure that's the case. He did rate when he broke his maiden, but he also beat Steerage that day.
Right. Where's he gone?
I'm not a big fan of him, Built to Last, to be honest. He was the one who's going to take money I didn't like, and you've got him 4th either. I don't really trust him.
No, I'm not sold, and it seems as though you feel the same way. So, yes, if you're taking a short price, I think you want to do it with Jester Song, who at least has the class relief instead of a horse that just going to face some company up top, likely. And I'm just not, I'm not enthused.
Race number 6. Race number 6. Dame Cinco is the heavy favorite here. We'll look at a race 2 back behind My Sweet Wife, a race where she tried to go a mile and was nailed in the late stages. That was a weird race. This race just fell apart at the end. She's the horse to beat. I don't have any big knock against her. I just prefer another horse.
Yeah, I mean, she's returning to the tag that she was originally claimed for by this barn in October. She's held her own against tougher company, including a second to the future state-bred stakes winner Funny How in January. She's cutting back for the first time in a while, dropping in class, but I know the connections may just be content with their return on investment, but if she's been running consistently well and competitively against tougher, why are we here?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair point. Now, she was claimed for $32,000, so that maybe they're getting out while the getting's good, but it's a reasonable question. You have a horse that's coming off. I don't think it was a subpar effort. I don't think she ran badly at all last time, to be honest.
I don't think so either.
So maybe they're just trying to win a race, and if they lose her, they're going to move on. It's not great, though. It's never great when you have a favorite dropping. I don't like your horse, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, you have the layoff. That's a serious question. I think with her, you're expecting that you want her to be able to replicate some of that form that we've seen in the past, but that's a big if. And I like that they're at least in for the 32 and not dropping her off a huge cliff. However, you're also hoping that things heat up front, and that's a big question too.
Well, they don't heat up out front around here, and I don't
No,
think
they
that's
don't.
likely to happen here. No, my problems are different than that.
What are your
But
qualms? Tell
she's a
me.
turf horse. And Bob McSaris finally realized it last year and put her back on the grass when she won that race. If you go back and look at her turf race, she's a better horse in the turf than she's dirt. She's done okay in the dirt. I think the reason she's not dropping is that Bob wants to get a race into her.
Before turf season?
Before turf season begins and get her back on the right surface. She also avoided claim last time out, and she hasn't run since May.
Right.
So we finally found out that she was a turf horse, and she subsequently missed the entire year, which included some spots at Saratoga where she would have been kind of tasty in there.
Yes.
So I have some reservations about it, and I think maybe he's not dropping her because he wants to keep her and run her on grass. I just don't think she's particularly a dirt horse. So I'm not really a big fan. I think Royal Megan is going to be very, very hard to beat in this race. Her last race, I didn't show it because Montpetit's shoe scratched out there. She ran badly because it was a gold rail and she was 4 wide. That's why she ran badly in her last race. She didn't run badly at all in there. She could have won that race if it had been run on a fair racetrack. She's got a race 3 back that'll beat this field. It'll beat Dame Cinco. And I think she's absolutely dressed up by running against better horses 2 back and Len last time being wide against the rail. I like number 1 Royal Megan in this race. Race number 7.
We finally agree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the opinion in this race is going to hinge on what you do with Bobby Bowe, who David has 8 to 5 in the morning line, and we'll watch his second to American Revolution, the Albany. And I don't think either you and I will disagree that if he's the Bobby Bowe that ran a year and a half ago, he's going to win. Much as I love Michelle Nevin, she's not a layoff trainer, and I'm not betting horses as the favorite coming off of year and a half layoffs.
And not ones that are transferring as a former Bob Baffert trainee, last seen running second to American Revolution. And here, American Revolution, we were discussing earlier, went on to run 3rd in that year's Pennsylvania Derby, then the Grade 1 Cigar Mile winner. If he is this horse, just as you said, he's supposed to win, but I don't want this horse at 8 to 5 when there are questions to answer. And he's also first-time gelding now. He's in a state-bred, allowance race. I'm not interested in taking a horse with that big of a gap at a short price. So I think I want a horse that I have questions about at 8 to 1 or somewhere near that price with the Golden Code versus one where he's going to be a much shorter price.
Yeah, I'm not going for this horse, and I'm just going against him. Horses like this win, I'm going to lose. And that's just sort of the way I feel in general about playing, and I'm going to play against him. I guess the logical horse, if you're against him, is Simply, and we'll go back to his last dry track race. And I know there's some showers expected later. I think we're going to be okay and probably miss them as this card winds up or a little bit right around 5 o'clock. Take a look at Simply's race 3 back the last time in dry track. I kind of want to see that 86 buyer get reproduced, but I don't think there's any arguing. He ran a big figure that day. He caught a couple wet tracks. Yeah, he sucked up for second last time, but he is kind of an informed, logical horse, isn't he?
Absolutely, and he has the recency edge and the consistency compared to the other 2 horses that we had, well, you don't have interest in is Bobby Bowe as much, but we both have some interest in Golden Code. He's the one who at least has been running lately and running fairly well, even though he hasn't gotten the win in the last couple of starts. So, I mean, he's just the other one that makes plenty of sense.
I agree, but we didn't want him. We wanted Golden Cove. I'll let you talk about him.
Do you think we're actually getting 8 to 1?
No. Even if it was 8 to 1?
Yeah.
Were you drinking?
And David's so good.
No, give me 7 to 2 in here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people like you and I that have some interest in this horse. I mean, he looked very
second
promising
choice,
early.
isn't he?
Shouldn't he be?
Somewhere around Simply, maybe third. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm
there's
glad you
zero
agree.
chance he's 8 to 1. We're lucky at half that price.
Right, okay.
I never even considered that out. I never even looked at the line.
Yes, well, I'm glad that you agree.
I'm guessing David's home. Well,
I'm sure he's watching.
When you get a call from somebody that should know better than to think you're not on TV, it's always sort of amusing, but I'll have to call that person back. Anyhow.
He showed some promise early. He was 3rd in the Gotham. If he gets back to some of those races and sits a little bit closer than he did in his return race last time when he was very far out of it, going the 6.5, now he's getting out to a mile again. I think he likes a little bit more distance. I mean, he just makes a lot of sense if he can be the horse that he used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what David says with the line. How good a bet is he at 7 to 2 in here?
Terrible.
Because I don't know if he's a terrible bet. I wouldn't say that because I assumed he'd be that. I don't know. His last race could go either way. Top Flight is a guy whose horses are often ready off layoffs. So, but that was a race that was not totally dominated up front, but mostly they were forward. The first 3 were 1, 2, 3 for much of it.
And he was further back than he'd been in the past.
I agree.
So.
He ran like a horse that needed a race, but he also might have run like a horse that's just not that good anymore.
Correct.
And I'm not. And it's like, there's no way he's a bigger price than Mason Maney. I know he's run decent figures, but he has that 87 and 3rd in the Gotham sticking out. He ran the Wood Memorial. It's Todd Pletcher. He gets a rider switch to Kendrick Carmouche. He's got all the right intangibles. we're just hoping that he runs better, and that I felt last year like his early 2 Beyers, he was a better horse than those numbers. He ran okay in those races. I thought the 69 in second start, that could have been a sort of a disputed race a little bit when you look at who ran behind him. And then he ran fine in Gotham. I think he might be a good horse. He also might be a horse that doesn't run well here, and he's a claiming race next time he runs. But like you, I'm going to be optimistic. But I don't think we're going to be optimistic at 8-1.
No,
I hope we are. Though I'm not sure
nice.
at 8-1, he might be dead on the board. I don't know. Last race is quite a mess.
Yes, it
We'll
is.
show Super Quality winning by 20 lengths in his last start, which, in case you're wondering, was just a couple of minutes ago. It was on Sunday in the first race. There's an argument that this was a bias, that the inside was good, and that it was one of those weird aberrational races. I will say one thing, he is the speed again today, but I'm going to be surprised when he runs anywhere close to this 80 figure. And if he goes back to his more normal high 50s type numbers, he's just one of the ones that can win this race.
Correct. And a horse that takes 10 tries to break the maiden and beats up on a softer field and is a career anomaly of an 80 when he hasn't ever run a figure like that on the dirt, at least. This is not the profile of a top pick for me at 9-5 ever, but he absolutely demolished that field like we just saw.
And I didn't talk to Andy about it, and I meant to call him, but I'm guessing they cut the number because the first race, because that was a crazy fast race.
Correct.
First races can live in isolation. But I'm also not taking a gigantic stand against him, and I see neither are you.
Correct. I mean, you can't ignore that he destroyed that field, and he should get a good trip again in here. And if that figure or a race similar to it is shown again, he should do well. However, that's a big if.
I think we saw the race very similarly based on our picks. We just went in slightly different ways on which one we put on top. You've taken the cobbler. Go ahead.
I mean, he's one of the more lightly raced ones. He broke his maiden over a year ago against Maiden Special at State Breds. Something must have happened in that second start to not see him for 11 months. Then he's a competitive second after stalking from the rail. Then the step up, the stretch out, didn't really suit him. He's back where he belongs.
He didn't run badly last time. You could make an argument he's probably the most logical horse if you're against the favorite. I mean, he was dueling with Overstep.
Who then came back
and ran a huge race and winning, not just coming back to win, ran huge. So I don't think his last race is bad at all, and he gets a cutback. So I think a lot of people will look and think, oh, he fell apart after he went away from Danny Gargan, and I think that's totally,
I don't think that's
totally
the case
wrong.
at all.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I think he is the absolute logical horse if you're looking to bet against the 9. I think he makes a ton of sense in this race. But I felt, because Anthony's not here, there's nobody to pick Louis Lazanero's horse.
You had to pick up the slack.
I did this for you, Louis, and for Anthony. I'm also lying. I would not do that, but.
You're not that kind of guy.
No, but I like Louis, but I like to see him win, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pick his horses.
Right.
You know, this is a funny horse. He may just suck. He may not be able to run anymore. But he's also second off a layoff, and frankly, if you don't trust the 9, he fits reasonably well off his last race, and he does have those 2 crazy races to start his career. So I'm just hoping he chased Naked and Famous, who was an international good thing last time out.
Yes.
He didn't run that badly, and now he's second off a layoff, and maybe he's the one if you're trying to beat Super Quality. We may both be blowing smoke here, and the Super Quality is going to go out and just wire the field again, and I don't think either one of us will be surprised. It's not like we're taking a big stand against him. Not the kind of horse we want to pick, though, in this
Correct.
race.
What am I missing about Raw Courage? Because David likes this horse. I saw that you then put
David
him
loves
fourth.
the train. Loves it. Well, I moved him 4 because the 8 scratched.
Right.
David loves the trainer change. He's a jockey change. He's making all the Eddie Fuentes off horses.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because I was going to say, what am I missing?
Nothing. What are you missing?
I could not be on board.
Have you looked at the others? I didn't pick them on top here.
Okay.
I mean,
as long as that's it.
I just don't like anybody else. I just threw him in there. I mean, honestly, it was my 5th pick, and they scratched him. I didn't. It's a trade. I threw him in there because it was a jockey switch on a horse that just looks like all the rest of them, kind of. Why David picked him, I don't know. He wanted to make a double, 8-1 in Golden Cove into Raw Courage.
All right, I wish him luck.
If Golden Cove goes off at 7-1 or higher, and this horse wins,
I think we owe David dinner.
I always pay every check. I never pay.
I don't. So I do actually owe David dinner.
He would pay. He would pay. Anyway, we're done. It was fun. You'll be back on Sunday with Anthony.
Yes,
Anthony will be back here tomorrow. Try to keep all that straight. You need to go to NYRA Bets. Head on over to NYRABets.com. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code BONUS200, and we will match the $200 of your initial deposit. Listen to Jose. Look how happy he is.
He's thrilled. Thumbs
He
up.
is. We have 20% exacta bonus. I opted in. Go over to NYRA Bets and opt in for this. It's on Fridays. Want to mention the contest, $300 buy-in. You have until 5 o'clock today to sign up. Go to NYRA.com/contests. And last And some version of leased. I don't know if it's completely leased. 3 to 6. The whole crew will be assembling to talk about Aqueduct and Oaklawn. And then tomorrow we have a fun show where we're doing all this race at Tampa. Lafitte and Acacia are at Tampa. And Paulie is holding down the fort at Oaklawn. I'm excited about the Azari.
Yes, good field, great horses coming back. Should be
Clariere,
very
Secret
competitive.
Oath. I'm not giving up on, what's her name?
Interstate Daydream?
Interstate Daydream.
You're such a Clariere fan, though.
I am. I love Clariere.
But
I
not as
I
the
worry when
favorite?
they get a little older that they lose a little
Yeah,
bit.
lose a step.
I'm glad she's back, and I hope she continues to run well.
That's a fair point.
Always been a fan. Sarah, thanks again. We're done. You're just getting started. Chris Griffin up in about 10 minutes with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes. Have a wonderful day.
Almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.